Welcome to the Heart of Soul podcast, an exploration of who you are, what you are, and why you are, offering new ways to investigate age-old questions at the heart of you. Hi, it's Joseph, and thanks for listening to the Heart of Soul podcast. Today I'm joined by Keth and Eric Grace again to discuss the gift of suffering, soul age and consciousness, capacity, transcendence, and the enneagrammatic roots of Islam and Christianity, among other things. By the way, I'm pretty sure I invented the word enneagrammatic, enneagrammatical, and I get a nickel anytime anyone uses it, so just an FYI. Thanks very much to our new podcast members for being early adopters. Our first members-only second Sunday will be May 11th, 2025. That's coming up soon, and we'd love to have you if you're not already a member. If you want to support the podcast, the paradigm, and yourself, of course, because it's a self-interested paradigm, by hanging out with us in a two-way conversation, so you can talk back to the television or the radio or whatever, and can spare $5 a month, please become a member. We'd so appreciate that. I've got some new infotainment material that came to me in the last couple of days that I'm saving for May 11th to dazzle and delight our new members and reward them for our support. So whether you want to tip us or become a member or both, the link is still clearandopen.com/HOS for Heart of Soul. Again, clearandopen.com/HOS. Thanks so much for being a supporter of the podcast in whatever way you do. Even if that's just listening, we appreciate you. Thanks for listening, and if you're on YouTube, for watching. Okay. So I just rudely interrupted Casey because I thought I was recording correctly, and then I had to cut him off and start it over. And now we're really rolling correctly. Please, sorry, go ahead, Casey.
All fine. Let me think how to put it concisely. This morning I figured out, and I had to figure it out because there was just this feeling in me which was, I don't even have the right expression for it because it's I don't know, I think it's the saddest feeling I know. Because and when I trace it, and it was really difficult to trace the feeling because it was like so painful to have it, that it almost seemed that I lost all capacity to just be with it. So I just stayed in this cloud of painfulness until I somehow, I don't know how we regain some modicum of consciousness to then proceed, but
By the
for
grace
some
of God,
reason
sometimes.
it really feels like it, because somehow it emerged that I could like trace further into it, and it to put it in words, it feels like that my mother somehow linked my core emotivity to, she linked it to that having feelings themselves is sinful.
Whoa.
And she did it in a way that, like, if we have the core emotivity, like you have joy, sorrow, and compassion, and these are the things that she actually disliked about me. Because when I was loving and compassionate with her, she didn't want that because she had her themes around that. And when I got really sad and sorrowful around that, she also didn't want to be with me in that moment. So just my core emotive setup would provoke her.
Mm-hmm.
So these got really tragically linked to being a bad person, or being bad, or a failure, or whatever, like, and what it automatically does in me on a really subconscious level is, as soon as I start emoting, I feel bad. just the fact that I emote is bad. It and on the level from where I perceive it as a young, because I must have been really, really, really young where I picked this up.
Yeah.
It's like feeling wrong makes me also wrong, but down to my bones. And it really, it's terrible, this feeling, because I have to emote because I'm an emotive creature. It's just what I do. It's just like breathing. It's like if breathing got linked to sin,
Hmm.
and every breath you take feels sinful. And there's this intrinsic wish to become good, but because I'm not able to shut off the breathing, I'm in this ever sinful
Mm-hmm.
loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, catch 22 cycle, suffering loop around it. Yeah.
And it's, yeah, I'm still not through it, but I can put like words around it, and just talking to you guys about it right now is
Mm.
helps me a
Well,
lot.
well, I can think of at least one client I have right now who I'm sure will hear this and
Mm.
feel a lot of resonance, because you're talking about. I mean, you have a unique version of this, but there's something so archetypal about that kind of trap.
Mm.
And all of us end up in some kind of trap where we have to become something that we're not.
Mm.
And there's an infinite number of variations on it, but you just emotively described your trap really, really well. An existential level trap.
And what's so insidious about this thing is that it got linked into my my cause of being.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. It's,
Yeah.
yeah. And what happens is because I'm my when emoting itself is being judged that harshly, um, and I'm caught in the loop of trying to then reverse this badness by maybe not emoting, but it's impossible to do. I constantly fail, and the feeling of being a failure even deepens and deepens even more,
Mm.
and it destroys any possibility of feeling some feeling of being. It really
Mm.
spins me off into a non-being
There's a
space.
direct tie to the sagehood thing, right? The personhood wounding that can connect to the sagehood
Yeah,
and past life themes that weave right into that too.
And then use it
yeah.
to dissociate.
Yeah.
The
And it
only thing you're
directly
left
ties
with.
to the Enneagram, being an Enneagram 4 too. I mean, like that's the crux of it, right? The self-hatred, and the feeling, and trying to resolve the feeling, and the
Hmm.
just the conundrum of that. I mean, you just described that so well, what the essence of the Enneagram 4 is.
Mm-hmm. Disconnection
And
from both parents.
I'm sitting over here, Casey, but as soon as you start talking about it, part of me started to go like, oh, I love how he feels. Like, I wish I could feel like Casey feels. Like there's an appreciation that lives inside of me, and an envy around your capacity to feel the way that lives in you as well. But to hear you talk about how what you internalized you internalized your mom's hatred towards her, or fear, and then how your own relationship has been around that. I can really hear that in what you're sharing.
Wow, that's a part of me went like, "What is he crazy? Why does he want to have that?" It's
Because everybody
interesting.
who's not a four wants to be a four. They're the coolest, most romantic, individualistic type.
Really? I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
know
everybody
that.
wants to be a four, except for fours who actually know what it's like, and they usually don't want to be fours. That's part of their grass is greener envy thing.
Oh,
One of the ways you can test for fourness is, does the person like that they're a four? because they shouldn't.
No, it's terrible.
Yes, as Helen Palmer, the Enneagram author, said, if you're not at least a little bit humiliated when you think you know your type, then you're not on it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a 4 for a while, and I was very pleased about it. That was what should have been one of
Saying
the clues.
Ding ding. Yeah.
Yeah. But Casey, I have a question about this. You use the word sin. Was this in a Christian context for your mother?
No, I come from a Muslim, Islamic
Oh, right. Ooh.
background. Yeah.
They have a kind of sin as well.
Sure they do.
And they do more wrongness than Christianity does.
Yeah, really. There's this, it's a very primitive sense of wrongness. It's just like, very simplistic, primal. Yeah.
Yeah, because Islam came out of a tribal society.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, I also, while having the experience, I felt, there's this feeling of not being able to strip oneself of the thing that was labeled as bad.
Yeah.
Was a sign of being that failure and this badness, just like Satan was. There's nothing good in this creature. It's just, and I get exiled into hell because and hell is like, I don't get the right to be. So it just fits on this archetypal level from what I was going through, really onto how the setup is in a lot of religions with a hell domain, and the punishment because you're not able to strip, you're weak, and all these things. There's so much stuff for my Punisher inside there, and whatever, it's a lot of content you can use against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and that I wanted to say some broader things for paradigmatic purposes and audience stuff, but you're speaking really well to the paradigmatic residue or the emotional residue that comes from the paradigm of Islam. Islam and Christianity have a lot in common, but Yeshua, was a 2 and Muhammad was a 1. And so whereas Christianity has I guess probably invented altruism in some ways, certainly popularized it. Whereas this be happy and care for your neighbor and love thy neighbor as thyself. And, then there's all this weird stuff that happens underneath, a lot of giving to receiving and pride and feeling bad about yourself, sort of the tension between those two. Those are all two things. The one thing is ones have core badness. It's a different flavor than the unworth in Christianity. It has more of an edge.
And the perfectionism is woven into that. Yeah.
Yes. And so there's this I'm not good enough. It's not a forgiveness based thing, right? Christianity turned into this forgiveness for unworth and then you're fine. Islam means surrender. You're fucked. You're wrong. And you can't redeem it through good works like in Protestantism or whatever. It's not like there's a self-immolating quality to it. It's more anti-self, I think, than Christianity.
Wow. That really, really fits. Really does. See? I mean, when I was 11, I chose not, or was it 10 and a half, 10? I chose not to go to Quran school anymore. And I rebelled so hard that my mother, she really gave up because she was so ashamed of me. Then told the Quran teacher not to come anymore because she had to tell the teacher that, her son again would rather listen to Michael Jackson than
it's your new scripture, huh?
Yeah,
Thriller or the Quran.
I'll take the other one. And so so she left, and my mom actually gave me a choice. She said, when you grow up, you choose for yourself. And this was one of the biggest things that she could have done for me. And but still, when you described what you perceive, which is like an Islamic trait in how they hold sin and wrongness and the edge. I can still feel the carryover.
Yeah.
Which is just resonant because my mom, she carried it onto me, just the way of probably also my upbringing and the way she raised me is also paradigmatic driven, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's trickier to see because one's part of the Enneagram 1 conditioning, just like working with a 1, they're so focused on being a good boy or a good girl and living according to the right principles. And it's not image-based because they're not an image-based type. It's a principle. It's an instinct-based type, right? So they're trying to be good from the inside out. Well, no, they're trying to really be good from not the outside in like an image type, but from their own set of principles, the set of standards, which is not a true inside, but they try to make it an inside, which in 1s is a substitute father.
Yeah.
And so that's why then that creates this righteousness because you have to grip on the principles that you can't actually feel yourself. And you can't actually embody them, so you're always wrong, and you can never be enough according to your own standards. And that's the trap of the 1. But I have a past life where I was a 1 where I deal with some of that stuff, so that's kind of why I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I have a 1 wing, so I'm really familiar with it too. Yeah.
Okay, and that's where I got my one-ishness.
Well, and 4 integrates to 1, right? So you can draw off of that. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, it's on the triangle.
Man,
so that's interesting. Yeah, as a 4, it forces you to turn toward the 1 stuff because that's where your leading edge would be.
Yeah, there's really, I think that got hijacked. That sense of wanting to be good in the. But then if good is linked to not feeling, that's a problem because
you could say that again. You're fucked then.
You're really fucked.
Be good, but don't feel anything that doesn't fit into mom's box. Yeah, talk about a trap.
So her box was what then? What was the invitation then? To leave yourself to be in what? Can't feel joy, compassion, or sorrow. What was the invite?
Yeah, not to exist. She didn't want me to exist. That's what I felt my entire life, that somehow, because I was a child of I mean, she isn't alive anymore, so it's okay to talk about it. I was a child from a former marriage that I didn't know existed because I thought that my stepdad was my dad, and she never told me that I was from another man. And
sound familiar?
Yeah. and that puts such a big sense of wrongness in a person. I know, I have it too.
And I just figured out after she died that I just watched myself in the mirror and went like, I can't be half German. I look too Asian. My eyes, they're just too pointy. I mean, this can't be. And then I got into a fight with my dad and just yelled it at him and told him, hey, you're not my dad. And I saw his face go white.
Well, when you were how old? You said that?
11.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then, he just turned pale. Like he was white already, but he got like really white. And then my grandmother came up to me, like my German grandma, and she told me the truth. Said that your mom wanted to protect you. You know, all this stuff that parents do, thinking that it's better for us not to feel the truth. Yeah, but yeah, and then she told me, and then that's when my entire journey actually got, when everything got, set off from that point in my life. I was then asking, who am I, why am I, and where am I, and all these questions came up, and that was the reason for my entire journey and search, actually. Yeah. So
those kinds of family secrets tend to create obsessions with truth.
Yeah, because you sense it. There's especially as Raphael, like when you have this intuition thing going on, you
Yeah.
sense it. Yeah,
Yeah. And then there's that dissonance between what is and what's being spoken.
absolutely. Yeah.
And you just become someone who wants to close that gap everywhere all the time. I didn't realize we had that in common, Kate. I can't remember if you said that before, and I just don't remember. But anyway, I feel as if I'm hearing it for the first time. Thank you.
Yeah, I always resonated with you, Joseph, from
Yeah.
the beginning. Yeah. Did.
There's a unique frequency from those kind of secret parentage things that.
Secret parentage club, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my best friend in middle school was adopted. One of my first long-term relationships was an adopted person. I've always been drawn to that kind of thing, and it took me a long time to figure out why.
Yeah, Eric, you asked me what my mom wanted from me. I think she wanted from me that, yeah, I think she couldn't handle that what came out of me as a being, like,
Just threatened.
yeah, just having these feelings, these needs, these wants, and wanting to be close and getting angry at her and all those things. So she found a way to go right to the source and shut it down there, so it wouldn't come out, wouldn't come out as strong anymore. So she really managed to do that. And today was the day where I really felt it. Yeah, and I'm still feeling it, and I'm through and through what it does when where your soul enters incarnation and starts emoting. Like there.
Mm-hmm.
She went right to the source. Yeah. And if you put something there, it'll take care of itself. You'll fuck yourself up by your own doing. Just by the setup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Casey.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this. And it's, I guess, one of the things it reveals for our listeners is how we are kind of explorers are in our own unconscious and seeing what's there and why and what the feeling reality is that's waiting for us to come to terms with it, and that's something that we all really hold as a deep value, that were adventuring and sometimes coming into contact with some really, really difficult experiences, felt realities, as a way to unearth more of all that we are. And it's not always comfortable, but oh man, so much goodness comes with it, and recognizing it and feeling it and have it be seen and received and reflected. And just I think that's the gift of this work and what we've been living into for so many years now, is it gives us the opportunity to really come home and feel what's been in our home, waiting for us.
Yeah.
I love what you said, Eric, about I can't remember the exact words, what's waiting in our unconscious for us to come to terms with. It's a really nice phrase. That rather than like we're exploring our unconscious, it sort of flips it like, no, it's just waiting for us. It's not something we do.
No, it's kind of spring-loaded in that it's there. And then as we're ready to actually receive, because as you get into the deeper bandwidths of our capacity to actually receive and meet it, like what Casey you just shared, is it comes in, or life helps evoke it out. And if we don't have the orientation, like we were talking previously around victimization, and you're really turning towards it, then it can really spring forward in its fullness. And then you just described how like it can be so unknown, like what the hell is this? I can't even get around it, but it's so here. And then it can take a while to actually have some embrace of it, so that it becomes the colors and textures and edges and the meaning of it settles in, soaks in a little bit more, so that you could actually articulate it or, convey it like you did here. It can take some time. But to try and do that as a kid alone,
Impossible.
Impossible. Really impossible.
And that also like speaks to if we as older souls or elder souls or even medium age souls coming in and feeling those realities but not having anyone to digest it, it's just then we have to have other layers that come online to try and mitigate that. So the older the soul, the more porous the soul, the more layers of defensive structures, protective structures are going to be to try and contain all that in until there's the space for the spring loaded to pop out. It's like,
yeah, I want to underline that because the idea of old soul is in our collective lexicon, like the wisdom. Yeah, I'm an old soul, that kind of thing. But what's not appreciated in that epithet old soul is more wounded, also more crazy, less adjusted to mainstream society, more frustrated. And usually there's a host of compensation mechanisms dealing with that, but that old, without deconstructing that old soul will also be a old, well compensated soul and quietly suffering, not actually living their biggest selves.
And if you have a paradigm that says functionality is the ultimate, that's what we're aiming for, coping and functionality and happiness, all of that stuff has nowhere to go to resolve, as well as not even seeing what the structure of the soul is and the emotional body, how they're one and the same. Like so much is off the table to even explore and talk about and encounter. And that's what we're endeavoring to do here. I mean, as we've said before, it's an experiment. We're still figuring out things, like, oh, if we go left here instead of right, what's that like, but this is the exploration. We're like, pioneers in that way.
And that's why suffering.
Sorry, go ahead, Casey.
That's why suffering has been like, even though it's painful to have and it's actually torturous, it's still the only thing. It's like that thing that reminds you that you're not there yet. And that something's still open and that something is still calling you. And it just doesn't go away. It's just nuisance that just doesn't go away. And it's healthy for it to not go away, but we perceive it as something that we want to get rid of. But it's really a reminder to me. It's that divine reminder placed there and telling, that soul will never not forget that there's still something there waiting for him.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a client that says that's the call for love. The suffering is a call for love.
Nice.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Nice. Eric, do you want to? I was going to say check in.
You were going to say something before when Casey was something.
Yeah, and then it disappeared.
It's gone. Okay,
it's gone. No, that's how it is now. It's just I saw it go. It's interesting that you brought that up because normally, prior to like 2 days ago, maybe, there was like Casey and I both tried to say something, and I said, "Go ahead, Casey," and then I saw this sort of fork in the road. That was my mind being like, okay, hold that thing there so you don't forget it. And I just got like, no, that moment's gone now. I'd rather be listening to Casey. And I just saw it go like a ship out to sea. And it was like, oh, look at that. It's just in that moment I had something. In that moment, that me had this to say. And now it's gone. And it was okay that it was just going. And I can also feel the me that's like, but that was me. Like I had that to say and now it's gone. And there's this grief there. But what's bigger is, no, the moment's gone. It's fine. And that's really my check-in, I could say. Because that's something happened in the last few days where the pre-dual got bigger than I was. I was struggling with the impermanence of things and the chaos and finding words, meaninglessness, hopelessness. It was all really quite bad. And it's weird because it didn't go away. It's just the pre-dual got bigger and I got smaller. And now all of that chaos is not a problem. Just like, for example, like 2 days ago, I would have been like, oh, I had that thing I was going to say and now it's gone. I can't remember. And then there'd be suffering. So it's like the impermanence is, and the lack of control is just as big as it was a few days ago, but now it's not a problem. It's amazing how
It is amazing.
subtle that can be. Like, it was a real problem. I felt like sometimes I was dying. I felt lost. I didn't think I could get the things done in a day I needed to. I mean, it really seemed doomed in a way. And nothing has changed except for the perspective of what I'm just saying. It's like, it doesn't matter, actually. It's all fine.
Can you unpack for our listeners when you say the pre-dual is bigger and the I is smaller? Now, that could be construed in a way from other spiritual traditions of how it's a lessening of the ego or a lessening of the quote I, right? What's that mean for you?
Well, it's a great question because I've been thinking about this. It was like a couple nights ago, I just realized I reframed the experience I've been having, I think for months, at least a couple weeks, but I just suddenly saw, it was so crazy. I'm still stunned about this, but I just somehow saw that somewhere in the last couple months, something changed where the pre-dual in my experience became a permanent part of my experience. It wasn't coming and going anymore. It was just there all the time. But I didn't realize it was there all the time. And some protector in me was interpreting it as a threat. Because to a protector it is, right? So I wasn't actually experiencing, here and there I was, but mostly I was not experiencing the magic and the amazingness of it. I was experiencing it kind of like a bad acid trip. Like, whoa, this is really weird and I'm really uncomfortable and I can't really see straight. I can't focus very well. And then suddenly it was like, oh, it's because I've been waking up another notch. And I saw that for what it was. And then the protector in me sort of backed off and realized that this is just way better. So how is that not transcendent? Because I went through the fucking terror and the emotional discomfort to get there. That's how.
You didn't obliterate the protector in the process either.
No, because it's still there. He's still there. He's just, I can feel it. He's just like, he's saying like, I don't know how or why this is better, but it is. And somehow the personal reality and the pre-dual reality are coexisting in a way. It's because that's what this was, an integration thing. And and I've seen this in a few different waves of it in the last, year or so, where there's an emotional type experience or emotional trigger that my protector wants to solve in personhood, and it no longer applies, at least for me right now. It's like he wants personhood to be separate from sage and sainthood, and that isn't where life is steering me. So because he thinks like, well, then it's on my terms. It looks emotional, it feels emotional. Okay, I'm triggered. And then all the things I know to do to outwork that trigger don't go anywhere. And then it delivers me to spirit. And then there's a sort of displacement of self, and then it's better. And so the answer is not solving it at the level of self. The answer is losing some self, which could sound transcendent. But for me, it's actually authentication because, like we were saying, I have spiritual gifts that have already been there waiting for me to find them all this time. And the resistance I have to inhabiting them is proof that it's not a flight from humanity.
And there's still an inner relationship you're having with your protection. To me, that seems fundamental. There's still an awareness interaction you have. It's not a denial of that dimension of your being, right?
No, definitely not. But No, but it's definitely there's a lot of questions though now, like because like in the place I'm in right now, it just seems like I've been operating with far too much self. I don't know what word to use there. Too much self, too much. I wouldn't use the word ego. Too much separate I-ness, maybe is a good way of saying it. Where it's like, oh, I've been operating with way too separate a sense of I. Like, and like I said before, there was some sort of like, well, I'll sort this out at the level of I. And that's what dead ended.
Mm-hmm.
And because now I see in retrospect, yeah, that's exactly what my protector would want to do, because then things get to stay more or less the same relative to, oh no, now you're going to operate with like 50% less self sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's far more disorienting.
Yeah, and the question is, because you say less self, maybe it's less of a certain kind of self.
Yes. It's really more. It depends.
Yeah, that fits. Yeah.
It depends. Yeah, it's more self. It's more my authentic self, but it's softer edges. I don't know how to describe it. It's just it's an integration of the three hoods, and like that is self. Like it's so, and I can see it now. My previous concept was like, well, the self is in personhood, and then there's sagehood and sainthood, and those are sort of non-self. Not self and non-self, right? You could say. But that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's all you. So
but your identity has been contracted as the mind,
Yes.
has been contracted as the will, and this shape of contraction that as you get more porosified, it changes your sense of the I that is all those three.
Yeah. And, you know, for people who don't know my past, I was a extremely secular, very non-spiritual, practically anti-spiritual, willful, manifesting type person until my late 20s. I would have said I was the author of my life until, you know, probably my mid 30s. Less so then, but like I come from Tony Robbins land. So I didn't start a new age hippie, you know? So,
that would be me.
yeah, I started out disconnected from essence. So this is a reconnecting to essence that really is existentially threatened my sense of self. So it turns out the true sense of self that I have is a lot less hard-edged, and it's just way better. But you know, only suffering could get me there, it seems.
Yeah. There again, we have the magic word. Yeah.
Yes.
Suffering.
Suffering.
The gift of suffering.
It is really the path layer of it's the track we tread on. If we have the right come from the right capacity to do so, which is not mind or will or whatever. It's really emotion land. Is to navigate that, you have to really find this very specific thing in your being to then be able to be there and to even accept it as real. Because there were times where emotions were more this unreal, or maybe could have been just some kind of imagination thing, and it
I
didn't
remember that. Yeah, that's a great call. Like, remember when emotions were like these pesky occasional things?
Yes.
Maybe not for a 4.
But yeah, and now emotions seem like to be the only the realest thing in me, because it has the ability to really bring us to the root.
It's centering.
Yeah. It's like those, like these guys who dive into these under these lakes in caves, where they then dive towards the what you call it, the spring of it, right? And that's how it feels like, because the feeling part is like this pond or lake, and then it's really suffering there, and then we jump into it, but then we sense ourselves somehow towards the source of it, because it's a body of water still. Even the feeling part and the emotive part are connected because it's from the same material.
Nice metaphor.
And and we just get so passionate about it that we become these cave divers like type of people.
When you first brought up cave diving, I immediately started to feel like I couldn't breathe, because that's always how I feel. I can get very claustrophobic, and that kind of fits where it's like it's kind of squeezy.
It is,
go.
Right?
Oh, that's such a good cue up for my
please,
my check-in.
Go ahead.
So I'm having the session with Anya earlier today, and there was this whole relationship I was exploring in Germany, and that for 2 months now I've had no contact with this person, and digesting my own current divorce separation process. Lots is happening in my life right now, like loan applications for mortgages and selling my business, and like my days are very full during the week with lots of stuff. But the background of recognizing it's been 2 months since I had any contact with this person, and Anya's asking me some really good questions, and I can feel how my being has split all the feeling realities I was having about this person in that time. And it's just like you said about the thing you were gonna say. It's like, oh, bye-bye.
Yes.
All of that is gone.
In service.
So totally gone. And like there's it's just not there anymore. And she's like, well, get a little bit like, and so we took some time, and I could feel the moment where there was like this little window with like, and there's all these other feelings that are there, but because there was so much feeling connected to that whole experience, to connect to it, there's got to be fear in me around the hurt and around the betrayal or the loss or just the connection. But it just so fascinated me that I have that capacity, that my protection has that capacity, my unconscious has that capacity to create this, everything's totally fine, And it's
something
form of
I'm jealous
pretending.
about in you sometimes, by the way.
And that annoys me sometimes.
That's both ends, totally. But that's the thing. This is the thing of the 9, right? Like it's a disconnect that's there. And so like how that functions in my consciousness, everything's completely fine. But it's not. Like there's this other place where it's really not. But how that lives in me, I could feel this awareness, like there's this column, and this presence up here was like, nope, we're not going to go into that. We're not. And like, what's the means by which that dimension of me has a capacity to make all of that other stuff disappear? That's fascinating to me, that it can do that. What's the mechanism that it's using and engaging so that I'm not thinking about, not feeling, not having access to it? It's just gone for the most part. And then a little wave will come here or here, but it doesn't. So that to have it just, be gone, but it's not gone. That's just fascinating to me, that's possible. It's possible.
The capacity you have for that are a set of gifts, of course. The expression of that can be another matter. I just want to make sure, because that capacity is God-given.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, but there's the 9 style, but you're a Michaelite too. I mean, that's you want to make something disappear, you can do it in the porosity love field of a Michaelite. I mean, it's just the ultimate okayness there, and you've done lots of work, past lives and this life, that gives you even more meta space around those kinds of things. So I get now why you asked me that question. We're talking about the very nuanced and subtle differences between transcendence and or dissociation would be the really far end, transcendence in the middle, and then mature spirituality, or whatever you want to call it. And it's important to pay close attention to, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the invitation from Anya and I's conversations, how I thread as me, Gold Soulful Self, thread these moments and experiences of all the different domains in my life. So they're all one thing versus this now, and everything is what it is here, and then this now, and like it's
now in service.
Right. Totally. Yeah. I mean, this is something that was with my last partner that they're so crazy making of how I could forget so much from other exchanges because I would just be in this now. And then it would be like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not my experience.
Yeah, I got some
like,
of that from my former partner too. And she would get so mad when I'd be like, I don't remember that, but like, tell me what happened. And I was ready to go back.
I wasn't always so friendly to that.
See, there's the difference.
Like, I didn't believe it,
That's the difference. It'd be like, she'd be like, well, we haven't talked about blah, blah. Like, well, what is it you want to talk about? Well, that thing. I'm like, what? What happened? And she'd be mad that I didn't remember when I would be like, tell me what happened. It's like, I'm sure I'll remember it after you get 20% of the way through.
That's
but
what I would
want to have to do that.
Yeah. This would be frustrating to her too. And I was like, you got to help me find the file first. It takes a little while to actually find, okay, you can't just reference, I said da-da-da-da. I'm like, you got to need, we were where, we were doing what, like, help me find that moment,
Then that became a projection where it was like, well, you don't care about me because you don't remember. And it's like, well, dude, I'm so sorry you didn't do the 5 hardcore years of Zen that I did to get where I am. Meet me halfway. I'm happy to talk about something other than the now, but I'm not responsible for remembering every single thing that's important to you. That's a parent projection. So it has to be negotiable. And for, public service announcement for people with spiritual attainments of different kinds, to those of you who don't have it, it's hard to talk to you people, okay? It's hard. It's work. You're not in the now. You're processing reality in your head. You're too attached to stuff. And I gotta work to talk with those people. And it's work that you can't understand or really get until you get to that place. So I don't mind doing it, but have a little bit of respect or something, it's a
compassion.
Compassion. It's a completely different way of processing reality, and it's not personal to you that I don't remember the thing that's important to you. That's why you remember it, so you can bring it up. Okay, jeez.
That just joggled a moment I had the other day when I rarely go to In-N-Out Burger. It's been about a year.
Best segue to In-N-Out Burger ever.
But my young person, I was like, I want to have some lunch, and then I checked in, and he's like, oh, I want to go to In-N-Out Burger. I want a shake. And I was like, okay, let's go there. So I get the food, I pull up, and usually when I'm around denser consciousness, a part of me is like, I'm really aware of my surroundings, because you just never know what's going to happen. Like you said in the Lowe's, like, right? You just never know what's going to happen.
It's like being in a zoo and you're on the wrong.
And who knows what's coming your way, right?
Yeah.
But I consciously chose in my car, I'm sitting, I'm not going to focus on the external. I'm just being with myself, hanging out here, eating with this part of me, and just letting it be. I'm going to trust. Okay. So then the person that has parked right next to me, really overweight big guy, loud sounds. I'm like, okay, I can feel him coming. I'm going to stay in me. I'm not going to start to pivot to his world. I'm just staying here. Comes over. He opens the door, bangs it into my car. And then I look and I said, did it leave a mark? He's like, no. I was like, okay. Then I went back. So it was like this, my protection is its orientation is you have to be tracking, because you never know what they're going to be coming at you with, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a really good practice with that. And then something did happen, which was it was I haven't looked at my car. There might be a dent there, but he said there wasn't. So I believe him.
How trustworthy is that?
Right. But it's like that. That's my contribution to what you're saying, how it can be really hard. They take up so much space in their
they don't know.
sense of self, and they just don't get it. And it's so commonplace to be in a world where people do not have as much space. And how I had to split in regards to that too.
Well, related to that, and as a footnote on my Lowe's story, on my being bullied at the hardware store story. So I caught, I think it was in the last podcast, I put the picture of my new and improved pig trap on. The first night I set it, I got 3 pigs. And I don't have the freezer capacity or the butchering ability.
Big freezer. Those things are huge.
Well, these were, it turns out they were between like 70, 100 pounds, maybe 80 and 100 pounds.
Only 100 pounds. Yeah.
That's a small teen pig. 100 pounds is only 6 months old for a feral pig. But the biggest one I did was probably about 150. That was a bigger guy. But so I caught 3 pigs.
Do you need another person to carry it? Because that's a lot of weight.
Well, I mean, no, you drag it. I've got different ways of, I've got a trailer on my mower. I can tilt and drag them in. And it's not easy, but dragging dead bodies, that's a heavy weight. It's like in the movies when people are moving dead bodies, like, oh yeah, it really is hard. Plus the friction of the floor. Anyway, so I'd been in preparation for capturing these pigs. I was looking around for who I could give the other, at least some of them to, 1 or 2 of them. And I just happened to meet this. He even looked like the guy who bullied me in Lowe's, also native Hawaiian, but just like the sweetest guy I've met in such a long time, like so nice and so generous that I started to get suspicious. Like that's how good he was.
Life was repairing.
Yeah, exactly. And so I got to it backlit like, oh wow, I became afraid of native Hawaiians based on that experience in the hardware store. And then this was this like, look, life can do both. Here's this super good, generous guy. And I gave him to the 2 smaller pigs, which he's in turn donates to this community church. And so he's just doing all sorts of goodness. And the poor guy lost a lot in the Lahaina fires. He was living on the West, including a cousin of his. Who died at only 41 from smoke inhalation, which is just brutal to hear about. Yeah. But he was just so grateful, and he helped me butcher the first pig and gave me some tips and on my technique, and was just an ally in the community, someone who didn't sneak up on me drunk to terrify me.
Really,
very different experience.
Yeah, so different. So,
amen to that, brother.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I got 50 pounds of pig gonna be putting in the freezer tomorrow.
Some good meals ahead of you.
Many. But I'm sorry, I'm afraid I maybe cut you off, Eric. Anything else you wanted to add to what you were talking about?
I don't remember what I was talking about, but sure.
Okay.
That was enough for me.
Well, that was a really great, we didn't talk about it long, but that's going to be, on the, in the intro, because now I have to take notes. It's so hard if I don't take notes during our conversations. And then it's time for me to edit like 4 days later, and I pull the file up and it's like, I start skipping around like, well, it seems like we talked about 25 different things. What are we going to call this episode? So now I have to write down notes. That was a really good treatment of transcendence versus mature spirituality, or dissociation versus real spirituality. Because without EB, I don't know how you sort it out. Without this kind of meta, it would be. I mean, and this is, you can see it. Hang out with a Buddhist for a couple hours, and you can see it. It's
well, I mean, sneaky. There's another thing that happened this week along those lines. I was invited to go to this gong ceremony. I mentioned this in the course. I trained as a sound healer for a little while when I was living in Sedona. So I'm all into sound. I'm, love music, a musician, all that. But it'd been a long time since I've been to anything like this. And so I was very curious to go. It was $40. It was for an hour and a half kind of thing. I was like, 40 is
It sounds like
high.
a post-tariff pricing.
It's something like that. So it turns out this guy, we used to be therapist, I think, but he ended up dropping everything once he started playing with gongs, finding he had some really powerful experiences with gongs, and he's got like 37 of them, and they're different tones.
What?
Different tones for different planets, and there's this whole system he has associated with it. So,
Wow.
but he leads the talk and says, "Okay, I'm not going to say much. You guys just get comfortable, and we're just going to go with it and see what you experience." And so it's you lay down and you just kind of go with and see how you feel with all of the sounds. And there's pipes he's hitting and gongs and all these. It's about an hour, 10 minutes he's playing. And I feel, my body's vibrating, but the center of me is still here with the vibrations feeling in different senses of my awareness. I never leave my consciousness or go journeying. I'm just centered. I am noticing the heavy breathing of all the other people that are sleeping, because they fall
Oh,
asleep
God.
fairly quick off. And he's like, it's fine if you fall asleep and all that. So I'm hearing the along with a
Yeah, like
and
slightly
some really
better
cool
than
sounds.
babies crying.
It was a little like someone needed a CPAP machine or something, is what it sounded like. They were like, so I'm recognizing that it's really hot in the room, but I could feel at a certain point something down in my lower first, second chakra buzzed off. And afterwards, he talks a little bit about how he starts sharing the paradigm he's living in. He doesn't say that, but he's talking about how everything is vibration. And then there's these negative emotions that are lower that the sound helps you release. So then you can live in the higher vibrations of love and joy and all that. And he brings out David Hawking's map of the progression. I'm guessing you guys have heard of him. The progression of all the different frequencies from the more denser to the less dense. And again, without an understanding of paradigms and what he's orienting, you could say, oh, I'm going there and I'm getting a release. And then I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel healthier and all that. But if there's no awareness of the emotional body's upstream of energy, that the parts are feeling the distress they need to be related with to digest what they're holding for it to actually bring about healing, the release of energy is going to make sense of like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, let's do that. I'll try that. But there were so many years I was living in Sedona. I tried that and it didn't help. It didn't help at all. It didn't resolve any of the things I was really trying to sort out in myself. So like the level of nuance, like we were talking about earlier around transcendence, if I just need more gong ceremonies and I'm all of a sudden going to be better, and that's a real worldview out there, whether it's sound healing or, there's lots of different approaches that are attempting to release things.
Yeah, most of the so-called cutting edge things are based on that we're energetic beings first.
Yeah,
And what bothers me about it is like people who pride themselves as being spiritual and sophisticated. This is, broadly speaking, New Age spirituality, how they have this a priori assumption that energy is the essence of all things, which they hold and assert with the same kind of confidence that a Christian asserts that Jesus is Lord, without any meta, right? Where it's like, well, Jesus is Lord, that's like fairy tale-ish, like you never met the guy and yet you feel that he loves you and you love him, right? So he died for your sins. There's all this sort of mythology around there, but it's not realized that the assumption that energy is the essence of everything is just that. It's an assumption, and they're just way sure about it.
Well, I would say
they have to be.
I would say the devil's advocate of that is many of people do experience energy directly, whether it's in the Kundalini work or how they're communing with the earth, or in tantric exploring energy with one another, or in one's own experience of their body. So they have the experience of energy, but then to jump from that everything is essentially energy first is a big jump.
Yeah, it's slightly more sophisticated than going to church every Sunday for 10 years as a kid, believing in Jesus, and then having the experience of your belief in your mind, and then having an emotional reaction to that. But not categorically different.
I really wonder because listening to that really gives me a sense of how innocent this whole thing is. Even though it's unconscious, it's really innocent. It's just, and I
The
wonder
sound
how,
thing you said?
no, just the way people hold their consciousness.
Oh yeah.
There's an innocence about it. And I wonder how, by evolutionary mm, measures, or how can meta enter such, how does meta organically arise?
Via suffering.
Suffering
But does it?
and feedback
Because
from others.
Yes.
but even that, if you don't understand the entire system around protectors and all that, the protector just takes it and just loops it back in,
Yeah.
right? So there is
Yeah.
almost no chance of meta organically arising. Only if you, and I wonder, is it an older soul thing that you're like so sick and tired and have
Dead
tried
ended
out
so much.
every
Yeah.
dead ended
Yeah.
so much that it is clear that that stuff doesn't work, then suddenly the option of stepping back and looking at it from a little bit more distance, just to trying to understand what's happening there, or what happened in your past lives and all that, that there's sense of relief when you have just space towards these things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just wonder how shall these folks ever acquire meta when they're like so stuck in their protective, I mean, this thing's a protective system, really just wants to do one thing. It wants to stay protected.
Feel
So
better. Feel better
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Well,
For instance,
maintaining the status quo.
Yes. Well, yeah,
maintaining
I
the
want to
status
stay
quo.
the same and feel better at the same time. Yeah.
Right. That's what a system does. It tries to stay alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Homeostasis.
So
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, it's almost
Well,
impossible.
yeah, I mean, I have the less usual position of having been a business coach for a good, I don't know, 15 years or so before I started doing EBU with people. And I continue to do that. So I've been coaching businesses now for 22, 23 years. And it's an unusual EB facilitator who has also worked with people who are very dense and very young. So I've encountered this, and I've tried to back many people into EBE who were just stuck. And so I've seen exactly that. It's a structural thing. And I think that it's, like you said, Casey, it requires a number of lives, like enlightenment, even something as sophisticated as traditional Zen enlightenment. The people we see in EBE usually have enlightened 3, 4, 5 or more times, not just once. So, I mean, there's one guy I was talking to, a business client, where he was into a very rudimentary form of mainstream Buddhism. And he was so stuck in his head, I could just immediately see, like, this is not good for you. And so I tried to introduce him to some of the principles of actual pure Zen, and he just couldn't even conceive of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's young. He was a Carpassian, with like 150 lives or something. And so he graduated from some of the, very rule-based kinds of Christianity and Judaism and Islam, and now was in the slightly more teenage Buddhism. But it was still about the ritual and cultivating a sense of kindness or whatever. It was completely performative by our standards. But I could see like, oh, okay, so he's gone from A to B. And maybe in like another 100 lives or so, he could find some real meta when he's gotten to experience that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking as you share that story of the people that I've worked with over time, how they would struggle with the soul species and the soul age thing. When it can take time to really sink into the reality of that and get how that lives. For me, it's not a question anymore. It's just so real. It's just in my experience with people. But how to convey to individuals that there is how consciousness evolves over time and how this porosity and density of souls really expresses, and what it takes to live in a life of all the different forms or choices you can do, paths you can go down of what you're trying to work out and explore, and how that shows up for different soul species. It's so without giving it as another belief for people to believe in, how to help them find the way to feel it there from the inside out is such an interesting process, both feeling
It
their
really
own
is.
and also to help them feel that with others. And even if they can't get the difference between all the different soul species, to be able to start to feel the nuances in what consciousness looks like and feels like in individuals. And there's people that are more conscious and less conscious. And what does that feel like? You can start at a real basic level. Individuals that have more space and porosity, people that have less space and porosity. What's that feel like? What's it like to be interacting with those people? How do you feel inside yourself in contrast to them? Where would you put yourself on that? I mean,
How many of
there's
them
ways
are at In-N-Out Burger at any given time?
Yes. Yeah, or you were saying Walmart recently too, right? There's certain
yeah.
places you can go. The preponderance of many denser types,
Yeah, when I'm at places like Walmart and Costco, I feel like a puddle of mercury on a slope. Like I'm just slipping through all, and I swear half of them don't even see that I'm there, which used to bug me, and now I just use it to I feel like Pac-Man in a maze. Like I'll just slip by here.
You feel like that too. That's funny.
Their consciousness makes them look and feel like they're moving in slow motion.
I always feel like I'm going so fast in comparison.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Whereas we're processing reality faster, and they're like, oh, look at this. Maybe I want to buy this. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, you've been standing there for what feels like 5 minutes. And you've parked your cart perpendicular in the middle of the aisle. I'm so close to you. If I spoke, I'd probably spit on you, and you don't even realize I'm right behind you.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the world.
What's it like for you, Casey, when you go shopping or out with as Germans out amongst your German folk?
Where everything is smaller, parking lots, aisles.
Everything is smaller,
Yeah.
but I think the density. Well, you can see how people think and how they go about stuff. So it's similar to yours actually by the way they process stuff. And I'm not 100% sure if it is. I just perceive it that way. What I have is that I realize that how intense stuff is for me and how detailed I see stuff. And when someone walks towards me, I know when he'll be with me and what will happen if I don't move aside and all these things. So, and I'm taking care of all these details just to have, to give myself and the other person maybe some nice experience of life. But not everyone is like not on the same trip like I am, like and they just don't fucking care sometimes, and then I have work to do. If it annoys me, but then I have usually work to do just to see what's happening here. But yeah, it's similar.
Do you guys notice? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
Sure.
I interrupted.
No, I'm done here.
Do you guys notice when you're on a collision course with someone, how long it takes for the person to realize they're on the like you've been realizing for you realized it, and they're like, this person needs to turn a bit. I'm not talking about cars, although sometimes it happens like that, but grocery shopping, they're in this bubble, and it's like, I'm coming at you, and then they're like, oh my god, like you're finally like 3 feet from them, and they act like they couldn't possibly have seen you until you're a meter away. I find that so interesting. And
It is, and it's something that I've suffered from like for quite a while, because I always picked it up as people not caring, like their unconsciousness is somehow signaling me that I'm not worth of being acknowledged.
Yeah.
Right? And it always went down that aisle in me, and that's terrible actually. Because maybe I get the sentence all the time in my head while listening to us, like when Yeshua, I'm not even sure that it's from him when he says like forgive him because they don't know what they're doing. Is it from him?
That was
up on the
attributed
cross.
to him. Yeah,
When he was on the cross, supposedly.
Yeah, and it has this thing where it just helps me a little bit to to back off when my protector like chimes in because someone doesn't see me or whatever, and my protector takes it in. And sometimes that sentence really helps me just to.
Yeah, I use that one too, and it triggers invisibility in me among the other things that you just mentioned.
Right. Yes. Yes.
But I also think that there's a kind of law of conservation of responsibility and,
Of course.
and or consciousness, so that like in any given situation with whatever is happening, the lack of consciousness and lack of responsibility, whatever people don't see and own, will flow to the person that can see it and own
good
it.
point. Yeah.
And that triggers my I don't want to fucking be a leader issues. Like, I don't want to have to be the most aware person in the Costco. I don't want to have to be the one who is, clearing my throat when you're blocking the aisle for 6 people who are behind you, or, I see this on Hana Highway all the time. I live right off of the famous Hana Highway where people...
One person's going 25 miles and you got 10 cars behind them.
Or 10, yeah, that's nothing. Like they're going like 22 miles an hour in a 35 and they've had a long day driving around the island and now there's like literally 25 cars behind them and they have no idea. And I just trip out on that because it's like, wow, this person is causing suffering and they may never know. Now, of course, the people are responsible for their reactions and everything, but there's an objective truth to fucking go the speed limit. If you're not going the speed limit,
lower. Let them people by. Yeah.
Right. It's like there's...
Okay, so I'm thinking on the other side, if we were at Costco and everybody was an angel soul, what would the experience of Costco be like then?
It's just, I feel so relaxed, just the idea of it. I can breathe, yeah. It's like, oh, that's...
Wow. Even
Can you imagine that?
It even smells good. like faintly of lavender and rose or something. Yeah. I have no words for that, but it feels lovely. Yeah. Just awareness and politeness, and I'm moving at a pace where I don't feel like I'm slaloming a density obstacle course, and
fresh air.
And what kind of interactions and conversations would arise then too? Like there's a part of me that feels a little jealous sometimes when I go to some of these places and people are having conversations. It's like, oh, I wish I could do that too, but I've never really I mean, I have conversations with people, right? But they don't usually go very far.
Yeah.
Like there are a few interactions and then it's done.
Yeah.
So like to meet someone and have a whole gestalt experience, sharing, unfolding, like that's just not been very common for me, in those kind of places. At least the mainstream ones. When I lived in Ashland and there was the co-op, sometimes I would have that experience with people that I was familiar with.
There's a sign in Mana Foods in Paia, about 25 minutes from me. That's the big health food store. That's our co-op, if you will, on the island. There's a sign over the door that goes to the Haba place where the vitamins and stuff are. There's a separate room. There's a sign that says, please limit hugs to 1 minute.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Someone had to point it out to me. It's been there for years. And I think I saw it on Facebook or something. I didn't believe it, but
it's not a take your hug outside. It's just limited to 1 minute.
Yeah, but still a minute.
I mean,
long.
1 minute's long. Yeah, right. It's really long.
That's holding on to relax, like David Schnarch used to about, right? Like you hold on for a minute, you're really holding to relax into it.
Nice.
That's not a pat.
No, that's not the pat. No, and if they had more space, they'd probably say no patting on backs. Do not strike the rear of people's fourth chakras while you hug.
But maybe the angel store might be, I don't know, because there's a sense of it being perfect, like appreciative. That's the word that comes to me. Like even the way the shelves are, how they set up the shelves, everything's appreciative of your needs and all these things, and people just it's logical, it has all these different nuances in it where people just take care of stuff and are
it wouldn't be so overwhelming either when you come in and just like, it would be set up very, very differently.
You wouldn't be struck by the density shockwave of the people.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably.
It's hard to imagine. I mean, even if I run into one or two angel souls in a place like that brightens it up so much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I love that you asked that, Eric, and I also noticed like there's a reaction to me of like I don't even want to think about it because that will just make me sad. I think it's like, I don't want to think about how good it can be because it may interrupt my ability to tolerate it. How it is now.
Right. Well, I think that's why I was bringing it in is because we're so used to that. I'm like, but this over here could be possible one day, right? Like, well, can you imagine what that would be like? And like, I don't know, 500 years from now, where there's more and more angel souls coming down, like more densely populated areas.
Well, it makes me think of like in the 1.0 days in the big retreats in Germany when there would be as many as like 150 people there, and like at lunch or dinner, and there's like, okay, it's not teaching time, but there's people moving around and navigating each other and getting stuff that's similar to grocery store dynamic. And I remember what that felt like. There's a smoothness. It's like everything is greased.
Mm-hmm.
No one's moving too slow, or if they are, it's somehow okay. There's not a right angle. Everything is in your way kind of feeling. It just flows.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Appreciate it. Because you realize that if you put stuff there that someone else might knock into it and stuff like that, so you don't do it from the get-go.
Yeah.
Because you can like preconceive certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's preconception. This is something that we usually do.
Consideration.
Consideration, yeah.
And that's what, a more porous soul has a literally bigger soul field compared to a denser soul. So our soul fields are like 8 feet in diameter, 9 feet in diameter. That's like 3 meters for you European folks. And I'd say
16?
No, 3 meters, 12 feet.
12 feet? I can feel 16 at least out when they start to enter. So if I'm walking down the street and someone's coming, I can feel them enter into my field, specifically edges. It's at least 16 feet out that I start to feel them.
That's like 4.5, 5 meters. 4.5 meters.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of a transition mode there. There's like the soul field, and then there's a soul field adjacent. Just like, if there's a hand 5 inches from your body, you're aware of it, even though it's not touching you.
And I think the protector also reaches out. Like,
that's what I mean.
His fear field actually
perception
goes out.
Yeah, so I'd say, typical angel soul is probably 12 to 16 feet. Sure, I'd put it in that range, somewhere like that. Whereas the denser souls, they may not, their soul may only go a foot past their body, or maybe 3 feet. That's what my third eye says, like 3 feet. So that's part of why they're just not aware. They're smaller. That's why you got to be 4 feet away from them before they realize you're on a collision course.
So interesting, because before you, I would have never thought about stuff like that. Really, it just happens. I just experience what you just put into words. So it's really great to have a thought around it now.
And this is the thing about having peers, especially versus being an angel soul that just by themselves and trying to blend into what is. You come together and more to reference off of, oh, this is what life is like. Oh, you have that too. So things can start to relax more, and there's not as much isolation and aloneness with it.
I've been here by myself for quite, even my entire family. They seem like Neanderthals compared to me. I mean, that's really because I love them all, and it's just I suffered so much in their dense way of going about stuff. So they seem to be like the perfect breeding ground for me too. Yeah. Because otherwise I wouldn't. I mean, who chooses stuff like that? And it's kind of sad because I'd really like to have the communication that we feel that might be possible, but then you can't have it, and that's a sad thing. And it's
Yeah.
And I'm still sad about it, and I will always stay sad about it, and it's not something I will process into joy just
Yeah, well,
because
that's sorrow.
yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's lovely to have sorrow too, I have to say, because it really shows what I care for.
Yeah, that's beautifully said.
And that I'm also not satisfied with, which is also important because I don't want to be satisfied, but I don't want to go into the insatisfaction which a protector has, and where he really gets annoyed by everyone all the time. That is not 100%, you know. But
Yeah, that's a fine
not
line.
not being satisfied in a way that says that, yeah, let's see if there's more possible, because I'd love it to have more. I'd love to have more of that, something like that around those lines.
Well, spoiler alert, I don't have a Guess the Guru today. I just couldn't do it. And when I say I couldn't do it, I just got a message. I tried a couple of times and I just got a no, not today. So that's just what happened.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie, yeah. Así es la vida. But I do have an agenda item, and this has been such a lovely organic conversation, and we've talked about so many different
really
things,
enjoyed it.
which I've been taking notes on, which just makes me very
I
excited.
hope the audience has enjoyed it as much as we have.
Well, yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, and I'm curious to hear from people. We've been getting some good feedback, but this is a marked change to what the podcast was. And at first I wasn't sure about it, honestly. I was like, well, is this going to be valuable to people? But today especially was a really nice groove. And I think it hit me earlier that one of the things we're doing for people that we didn't intend to do, I certainly didn't, is give people a direct sense, well, I don't know how direct, a sense of what it's like to process reality after doing a whole lot of this work.
Yeah.
And letting people into that. And
That was
seems
my
like
intention.
Well, exactly. I'm glad
I'll
take
take credit for that.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that's totally different than what Stace and I were doing, which was the paradigmatic framework, which is super important and all that.
Super important.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
it's great that it
this
was
is
on the front end of it too, right?
Yeah.
As far as the whole you laid out such a great ground foundation you guys did for so many podcasts.
Yeah. And so it didn't even occur to me that this was possible. And I don't think Stace and I could have done it. I think, that you get the credit of the intention, and Casey, you're filling that in beautifully as well. And it's filling it in for me. It's you guys are changing the way I show up in the podcast, which is great. And there's still content that is arising that I occasionally want to deal with. Yeah. But I wanted to say before I forget, I would love to hear from you guys. josef@clearandopen.com is my email. You know how to get a hold of us. So if you like this, let us know so we can keep doing it. And
I've heard good feedback
good.
from several different sources as far as they're really enjoying the conversations between you and I. They haven't yet heard Casey yet because that's going to be dropping this next Friday, I think, right?
Right. By the time, that's some weird time shit, right?
Yeah,
because if you're hearing this now, that already dropped.
Yes.
We're recording this on April 13th, but our first Casey including episode has not yet dropped. Relative to our time horizon.
Yes. I imagine we're getting more good feedback, but the only negative feedback I got was around the 15 minutes you and I spend around the salt and pepper the pepper shaker.
What?
Which was purposely fun.
I try to be funny.
Yeah. I know. But then I did hear positive around that too, that there's welcoming of the mundane on that level of the mundane and the ordinary, which I think is really important too.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw there was a YouTube comment, not from anybody we know, but I'm not sure. Somebody wrote, "You lost me when you started talking about politics." I don't remember when that was. And I'll be honest with you, I deleted that comment because I don't need that kind of shit. If you're gonna just snipe us with a comment that takes so little responsibility. Because, by the way, you lost me when you started talking about politics. Sorry, victimhood flags are down all over the field. you can take a look at what that is. And if you can give, I will not take any feedback that is completely without meta. So
That's
if you're
a
just
nice
going to,
bar.
yeah, if
That's
you're just
a
going
nice
to blurt shit at me, this is, I will not play by bullshit Facebook internet rules where you get to snipe from a non-vulnerable place. You can make requests. You can provide self-introspectively laced feedback that has some meta in it. But if you're just going to blurt some shit out and think you're going to publish it on YouTube, I will delete the fuck out of that stuff so fast.
Well said.
Yeah. Shazam.
Ironically, I also shared it here, so now it is public. But yeah. Anyway.
Oh, that really touched me. That's cool.
Yeah. I totally dig that. And I'm kind of curious about this person too. Like what about the politics actually lost this person? I'm super curious. But
yeah, right. Well,
at the same time,
like,
I totally agree with you.
Right. We didn't lose you, and the subject of politics didn't lose you. It's sort of like when people are exposing themselves to anything and they're like, yeah, it didn't really hold my interest. And I just want to say, are you listening to what you're saying? Like, when people put the subject of the sentence as it, and it's just like, oh, for God's sakes, just listen to what you're saying. There's so much information there, and you're putting on an it. And I wrote a whole thing a while back about it feels like, the phrase it feels like, which is a really clever, non-vulnerable, not always, it can be a read, but I try to never say the phrase it feels like, because it doesn't feel a goddamn thing. What is it? Are you feeling something? Because
unless you're referring to divine being, maybe like it
right.
feels a whole bunch, right?
Yeah, okay. But it's like, do you mean it seems like? Do you mean I think? Do you mean I feel? It's just, it's sort of like privatizing the profit and socializing the risk. It's like, I'm going to put this out there as and it's a very new age thing, like, because there's not a me here. So it feels like there's a feeling in the room that, there's a feeling in the room? Are you experiencing it? Ugh, it's so icky.
Yeah, I've done that a lot of my life. So thanks for pointing that out. And it was exactly like you say, it was a way because I was conflict avoidant, right? So I had put it out here, and then I wouldn't be vulnerable to actually own it as my feeling, because I would be afraid that I'd be attacked or somehow conflict based on or dismissing the reality. So it'd be like you said, an unvulnerable way to put out a perception. Or disconnected feeling reality.
Yeah. I mean, I termed it that way, saying it just to keep it open in a way, because I wasn't like trying to make it too concrete, but you just making me, sensitizing me towards it, right? It just doesn't feel as good as it used to.
Yeah.
And I think I really like the way you framed it, and it's great. Yeah, I'll stick with that, because it's even much more. It just gets a different vibe when I say I feel. It just gets a different vibe, and it's much richer and it's more resonant and all these things. And it's right. It just offsets it somehow. It's an offsetting word, kind of.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, and it can be innocent. And Stace, I know, says it sometimes, and it's like when I hear him say it, I hear he's talking about what he's picking up with his third eye. And so you can feel different motives in it. But if you listen for when people say it feels like, it can be innocent. It can be like they're meaning I'm picking up or I'm sensing, and it can be relatively pure that way. Or it can mean I don't want to take the risk of actually saying what I feel, or I don't really know what I feel, or I'm going to dissociate this in a way so that it can't come back to me. Or interestingly, one of the people I sort of picked this up from, I listened semi-regularly to the podcaster and comedian Adam Carolla. You guys know that guy? He's a very sharp guy, based in LA, and he's does stand-up, and he's a clever guy. And he is very disconnected from his feelings. And he says it feels like all the time. And it's a way of sort of masquerading and venting I'm having a feeling without actually ever saying a single feeling. I've never heard the guy say anything about what he feels.
It collectivizes feeling then.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Or I just thought that maybe where people retrieve feelings from doesn't feel personal. It just feels like this cloud of something. That's why when people go there, they say like, it feels like it because they don't exist there as
It's
people.
objectifying and collectivifying at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it completely absolves you of personal responsibility of triggers, your own perceptual distortions, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I find language fascinating like that.
I just wanted to say that just for the listeners, this is the way we also really have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really enjoy stuff like that because we love being fine and detailed. It's not something that's tedious to us. It just gives us more surface to feel.
Nice.
And that's why it's so much fun, and I really appreciate it when each of you brings something that I hadn't talked about but am like ready to feel because it's somewhere in my experience. And it's really appreciative. It's worth. That's why that makes life worth living to me.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is a balm for all of the balm, BALM, balm for all of the times of being told too sensitive or overthink things, or because part of being an older soul and higher consciousness being is perceiving things that people don't. And because that's a minority in our society, and you challenge the belief systems of people and the way they process reality, then pointing out the enormous, I would offer, paradigmatic distortions and protector-based resistance dynamics inside the little words of "it feels like," I mean, I could really mess with Adam Carolla if I went down, if I got to talk to him about that. Mr. Carolla, you used the word "it feels like" 47 times in your last 3 episodes. Are you having any feelings in there? Or do you put them all
You get
out?
banned from his shows. There's a picture of you right in front there, and the bouncer gets like
not allowed.
But you know what?
Not allowed.
He's a little bit autistic, and I also think he has a really active third eye, but he doesn't realize it. And so that's another way that it feels like. And I can think of a few people that I know outside of EBE who they're using their intuition, but we don't live in a society where intuition is accepted. So you can't say, my read is, or I'm getting the sense that, or certainly my third eye says, or whatever. So it feels like is a way of sanitizing the read, but that's selling out on your own soul gift, because saying like, I'm getting this download that says, that would be taking more responsibility than it's like the situation feels this way. No, it fucking doesn't. Jesus Christ.
Well, you just saying about the download reminded me of in Ashland, there can be people talking that all the time about how they're getting downloads and whole identity around that,
yes,
right?
I'm getting a download, and then they take no responsibility for their interpretation of it or that they're speaking it or any of that. Yeah, that's different. Yeah. Well, we've been going for a while. Are we done? Time has just flown.
Are we done?
We could be done.
We could be. I mean, that's a possibility.
I'm okay with being done if you want to be done. This has been wonderful, though.
Yeah, and we can let the other option sail away.
Sail away, sail away, sail away, sail away.
Sail away.
Well, speaking of new age,
right.
Brings me back to the late 90s.
Flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, one of the things maybe we could chip away at one thing. It feels like we should talk about one. Oh, I can't even say it. I can't even say it.
Oh, that it.
I'm getting the sense that there's one more thing we should talk about. I was thinking about talking about narcissism as a label, because I have this long list of things on this You can tell when my notes get this old, it's starting to age. I don't know if you can see this on the camera.
The brown spots are starting to show up on the edges.
Yeah, exactly. It's starting to get stained. This has been on my desk for literally 2 or 3 months, and when something is on my desk for this long, it starts to go. It starts to go. Do something with me. Do something that has nothing to do with me or my interpretation of it. It's doing that. You see, it's talking. So
Yeah.
I'm a victim of
The
this
note
piece
is very
of paper.
invasive in your field of awareness.
Yeah, it's super invasive, and it needs to be dealt with, and I'm a victim of that. And there is no self, according to the Hinduistic paradigm from which the idea comes.
Except for to feel it triggered by something invasively coming into your field.
Right.
The
It has
self
nothing to
only
do with my
exists in that
childhood, nothing to do with the invasiveness of my mother. It's just like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So as long as we're all clear on the paradigm behind this piece of paper, I don't even know what I'm talking about. So we want to take 10 or 15 minutes to talk about narcissism because there is no Guess the Guru today. And
I think it might take longer than 10, 15 minutes to talk about narcissism, but I'm up for it.
all right, well, it still feels like, and by that I mean I still want to.
Those I statements.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
up for it.
When you say, I feel, and I'm requesting
Are we going
that we spend a little bit of
compassionate
time.
communication now?
Yes.
the need, we got to own the need there too, right?
Yeah, right. Well, no, the last one is I feel, I feel, and then it's I need / request.
Right.
So you can avoid the need entirely.
Just go to, you can avoid needs and just go to requests.
Yeah. That way it's a
okay.
real energetic transaction and not emotive in any way
Okay.
whatsoever.
I did an initial training in that when I was, I don't know, my early 20s with puppets, the Jekyll and the giraffe. Marshall Rosenberg, do you ever see him do presentations where the Jekyll and
Time out.
giraffe?
Hold on a second. What? Marshall Rosenberg does puppet shows to explicate his paradigm?
Speaking jackal or speaking giraffe. You didn't know this. For compassionate communication? Or is that
Now
what
we
it's
can't talk about narcissism.
Nonviolent communication. That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay, narcissism is off the table now. We have to talk about Marshall Rosenberg and puppets. Who's the jackal and the giraffe?
Well, the jackal is non-compassionate or nonviolent communication, and the giraffe is
No, the jackal's violent communication.
I don't know what word they use for it, but yeah, it's two different styles of communicating.
Jackal's bad.
Yes.
Giraffe is
Jackal
good.
is bad. Giraffe is good.
Is it because the giraffe has like structural meta because it's so tall?
I guess. He didn't ever explain that, or at least in my
He did a
research and
puppet show?
training. Well, he did it with me, but the people who trained me used puppetry, and he's done puppets within the whole system. I don't know if
That's
he's doing
cool.
it. I think he died, so I don't think he's doing it anymore.
No. He's doing the puppet show in the sky with the jackal on his giraffe.
But
Wow.
but I was doing it for doing the Timber Trails project at the time. It was actually taking inner city youth out into the wilderness and camping and doing cabin work and all that stuff. So I had the puppets to be able to apply if there was an interaction that was going south. That was
Wait,
purpose
you
why I
had
was getting
puppets?
trained.
They gave you puppets?
They gave us puppets. Yeah.
Maybe we're
to work with
missing
these
out.
kids?
Maybe Identity should have puppetry in it.
I think we should definitely have puppetry.
For sure. I mean, we could do our own version of it.
Totally do puppetry.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people used to have stuffed animals, especially in Germany. There were a lot of people who had stuffed animals for their parts or that were their parts. But going to the next level so that stuffed animal would be a puppet where you put your hand in it.
Yes.
Yes.
Provided that puppet didn't feel invaded by such an act.
You were the one that said you had a hand up your ass a couple of podcasts ago, and I could feel the puppet might feel that way. The first response you're like,
That old Kermit
it's not
talking
very
to the
nice to
jock
have a hand
doctor.
up my ass.
Yeah. Kermit's talking with the doctor and reviewing the x-ray and yeah. Wow. Well,
I'm done with it. We could at least do a skit sometime with puppets.
I mean, my mind is busy spinning with the possibilities of puppetry and EBE, sort of like, it makes me think of the Being John Malkovich film where the guy who takes over Malkovich gets into puppetry and completely steers Malkovich's career in that direction. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
I mean, it could really work. Yet now, jokes aside, could really work because the feeling that you have when you enter a puppet, you really can. It gets this transformative quality where you
Mm-hmm.
really, and you sidetrack like all the parts that uh, want to stop you from emoting.
Wait, have you done puppetry in a serious way?
No, I had puppets as a kid, and every
Uh-huh.
time when I went into there, I really transformed into this figure, and it was much easier to be because somehow the protector believes, oh, it's just a puppet. It doesn't take it so serious. They really get fooled by puppets somehow. You can
That
fool
and
a
that's why,
protector.
yeah, like that's why
Yeah.
child psychologists will use puppetry with kids. 'Cause it's a
Exactly
way
like
of creating
Alice,
meta.
my wife actually, she uses it.
These puppets. That's
Yeah.
super cool. Yeah. And there's all the nonverbals there too of they may not speak, but they're looking and there's all those
Right.
things that you might let through in a
Right.
puppet, but you wouldn't necessarily let through unguarded
hmm
in interaction with someone at times.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah, it's
especially when
great.
parts don't speak yet.
Hmm.
You could just like be in the hand and just the way they angle the hand and all that.
I'm
That
just
could be very
imagining
interesting.
doing like a Zoom session. Like if I had a facilitator and had a new part, I could be like off screen and the puppet could be the only thing the person saw or down
I
here,
would just I would like book a session just to get to see
just to
that.
see that. Yeah.
And then and then it's going to be puppet to puppet. They have to disappear, and it's just puppet
Right.
and your puppet, and it's just puppet to puppet.
I'm just imagining Stace in the next seminar doing like, a few hours with puppets on each hand.
And then we've got the merch stand of you can find the puppet that resonates most
Oh, yeah.
with your parts. Like,
Yeah, we could design puppets around the architecture of the emotional body. Like here we have several choices for hurt
for
and several
anxiety,
choices for anxiety.
yeah. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Angry puppets, or maybe it's one puppet and you can accessorize it like a Mr. Potato Head, so it can be
Flip
anger
it
or be
inside
shame.
out, and yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Wow, it's a whole set of possibilities.
Yeah,
I'm excited by it, but also it feels like I just couldn't make it work. Ugh.
I went to the film that shows in the last
Oh, did you see
season
it?
finale again last night, and they had at the beginning there was merchandise, and then it made me think about what would be Identity's merchandise. What would that? And now we know it's puppets. Puppets is the Identity merchandise, in addition to our previously stated bumper stickers we've talked about at times.
Well, that's just, I mean, that opens a whole other thing. Yeah, identitymerch.com,
Yes.
right?
Got
Let the world
shirts.
know. Oh, yeah, t-shirts.
I mean,
A t-shirt that says a part of me hates you.
who am I? And on the backside, well, who are you? Like,
Nice. I would wear that. That would be cool.
a lot of fun with it.
I made a top 10. Yeah, one of the one-man shows I did during 1.0, there was a top 10, I think, what were they? It was like top 10 Theo Humanity, that's the old name, t-shirts. And I made the t-shirts and
You
threw
made
them
the
out
t-shirt.
to the crowd. Yeah.
Oh, I think I remember something about that.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but I think I saw the video or you telling me about it or something.
Something like that. Yeah. One of them I remember was "We Spacers Are Everywhere." And the funny part of it was I had a friend of mine do the t-shirt making for me, like do the ordering and stuff. And somehow the font they used for "We Spacers Are Everywhere" became like they use like scary Halloween writing. Because like that's how it got interpreted by someone along the way. Instead of just energetically disparate, it was like they're everywhere. Ah! That was a really funny moment.
That's so cool. Yeah, we should really do that just
That would be
for
fun.
having fun. I'd love to
Yeah.
have stuff like that.
It's
Somehow.
really easy
I
to
don't know.
make
It's
t-shirts like that.
It is so easy these days.
some action figures like Stays
Action
figure.
figures.
You can do that if you send. There are places you can. If you
can
give
totally
them
do that
good
now.
enough photos, they'll make action figures. And they're not that expensive.
We gotta send Stace and Bree their own action figures, Identity action figures. That would be so fun.
Wait, I found the file. Here it is. Top 10 rejected EBE and Theohumanity t-shirts. Number 10, I'm the only person on earth who doesn't play victim. That was number 9. It was really into Letterman at the time. This is from 2006. Number 9, happiness is a drug. Some of these I'm going to skip because they're not that good. Number 7 was Angel Soul, just visiting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, stop vilifying my ego. There's 5, we spacers everywhere. Oh, me spacers take care of themselves first. Oh, and my personal favorite, I got this idea from someone who had a t-shirt that said, your favorite band sucks. Which I thought was brilliant because, like, you have the felt reaction like, hey, and then you realize they don't know what your favorite band is, right? It's just your favorite band sucks. So your favorite paradigm is incomplete was my version of that. And then part of me is judging you.
Yeah, I was going to bridge those two and just say my paradigm's better than yours.
Yeah. I think your paradigm is incomplete. It's a little more confrontative. Maybe, yeah, you could do both. We'll do a focus group on it. Test it out.
You could switch around, just ask the question and say, how is your paradigm incomplete?
Oh, well, that's very soft. Or what if your paradigm is incomplete?
Mm-hmm.
But we're giving people a lot of credit because most people would see the word paradigm and be like, I don't know what that is. I stopped reading at that word.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. So I made those t-shirts and threw them out to people in the audience when I did that show.
Oh, you guys froze.
We're not frozen.
Hello.
You're projecting. I'm fine.
Whoa. I don't feel frozen.
I don't feel frozen either.
Have we unfrozen yet?
I'm back on track. I'm back.
Okay.
Okay.
No. All right. I think we're done now.
Narcissism next time then, huh?
Yeah, I want to do narcissism may take a while, but the long list of all of the psychologization of society stuff, holding space, and yeah.
Definitely, let's do that. Yeah.
Well, we'll intend to. Let's hold the intention. Let's willfully. It feels so strange, that idea of like, yes, let's hold the intention, and then like my being reaction is like,
hold the energy for it. Let's hold the energy.
Oh yeah, that's not good. There's now, and then the now feels to me like it's a wave that is always completing, and then this now will end, and then the now of the next podcast, we may or may not talk about narcissism. I'd like to.
It's only if it's divine will's intention, right? Because it's not our life. It's life.
Yeah. As Stace says, it's your life. It's not your life, but you get to live it.
Mm-hmm.
So tune in next time to see if our intention comes to fruition, because I know you're on the edge of your seats, dear listeners. Like, you just can't wait to hear what we're going to talk about next. And I thought we were going to talk about some of that stuff today, but we didn't. So, we talked about good things.
Yeah, and the hook for the audience is, if you guys want us to talk about anything in specific, you can let us know what that might be. We may not talk about it, but we at least would welcome your feedback.
For sure. Oh, and I remember now, it's something I missed before when I was talking about how we're giving people a taste of what it's like to process reality for people who are further down the road for the most part in this work. But I would love to have someone who's a year or two or 3 into EB.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Because I want to give people that experience too. And we can't do that, So like,
that's just as important. You got to get a taste.
I would love for someone who's like just on the other side of their first big protector. If you are listening out there and you would like to be on the show, I would love to have your consciousness and way of processing reality be in the foreground, because that's really valuable. And
also they're getting the new version of the work too, compared to how the three of us first encountered it, right?
Yeah, because none of us got that. So, and I think it's faster, but I would love to really get a taste of that. I have a lot of people that I'm working with who are just sort of on the and this, you call it the zenith of the nadir, depending, but they're just on the trying to get through that first protector thing. And I have a lot of people right there, that agonizing, disorienting place of realizing you're fused and not being able to do anything about it. And so, and that can be an interesting place to be as well. But I think could be, especially because there's a lot of people who get stuck there and start to have a lot of reasonable doubts, because it's like, before you get past your first protector, you don't know what it's like to be past that. You know, you can't conceive of it, understandably and innocently. So someone who's done that, I would love to have on the show and get a sense of what that's like, and so that they could talk about it for the people who are still struggling.
I think that's a really great idea to show the gradation of how the development is in our work. Right.
And it feels like, now I'm having fun with that, it feels like, so notice the difference, it feels like it's one of Eric's facilitants who that should be.
I asked one, but
Did you?
They're not ready for it. You know, I think it would be, I mean, on the other side, I can imagine it'd be a little daunting to come on a podcast and talk about your experience. So
but why wouldn't you?
But I mean, it's a great invitation, and I can understand if people would be cautious why they might be, but it could be really fun, you guys.
So I want to first revise what I said. I was saying it feels like playfully. I see that it's one of yours, Eric, and I certainly could be wrong. But so whoever that is, if they're listening to this, we're asking. We want you. And whatever reason you have for not coming on the podcast, I invite you to question that. Because you could
lead with that and say, hey, here's why I wouldn't want to come on the podcast.
Yeah, come on the podcast and tell us why you don't want to be on the podcast. That would be great.
Or reach out to us and say, I had the impulse to come on, but then this came on instead. I don't want to come on because of this. At least we have a conversation about it. You know? And
we could also, do it and record it. And if at the end the person didn't want to do it, we would trash the recording. We remember the old Saturday Night Live thing about making change. Do you remember that? The first change bank. We will give
I'm just having a moment. We wouldn't delete the whole thing. We would take out the images of them and put in a puppet. And then we'd be them as the puppet, but we'd make a different name.
We'd synthesize we'd distort their voice and stick a puppet in there. We give it to AI. Oh my God. I kind of want to do that now. Well, a part of me felt like there was no point to living. No, that becomes, wow.
It's possible. That's the freakish part
possible.
About it.
I know. Like really easy and free to do that. Yeah.
True.
There is a film out there. It starts with a P, The Protagonist. That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
And they do the little, did you ever hear of that? Have you ever seen that film? Where they do with little hand puppetries, this whole storyline. Really cool film.
That's a 1999 film, The Protagonist? About an Italian movie crew?
No.
Protagonist singular?
I think it's Protagonist. It's with claymation figurines moving, and it's almost like a Greek mythology. I'll look
it's a
it up.
short. Is it recent? There's a 2024.
No, it's not. All
right.
Film. Yeah, it's called Protagonist. I see it right here. Documentary. No. Yes. There's two of them. One has hands that are held to strings. That's the one.
Uh-huh.
And it's because, look.
There's a number of films called The Protagonist.
I know, but this one specifically is it's a 2007 American documentary film about the parallels between human life and Euripidean dramatic structure.
Okay. Oh, I find it now. 2007. Okay. I see.
Not quite puppets, but close.
The Euripidean dramatic structure. That's the Greek tragedist Euripides. What the hell? IMDb is quoting Greek dramatic structure? That's pretty bold.
I know. I thought it's cool. If you guys get a chance to watch it, let me know what you think.
All right. I'll put it on my list.
My current show is The Residence, which is really fun. It's weaving in birding, the White House, and like a murder mystery with comedy.
You lost me at birding. Just kidding. I just like saying the phrase "you lost me" as ironic victimhood. You lost me.
Yeah,
It's a typical phrase.
it's your responsibility to keep
You
me.
read it everywhere.
Yeah, you lost me. This video is longer than 4 seconds. You lost me. Sorry, I need something more stimulating. You lost me.
Yes. Keep me entertained.
Right. Yeah, that's a happiness paradigm in there. You lost me. Are you not entertained?
Yes.
And that's a narcissistic point there.
Uh-huh.
There we go.
You want to talk another hour about narcissism?
Yeah.
We are there for them. We are there for them.
Right. Oh, here's one punctuation. So I sent my the video I sent to a few people with the pigs that I got, the 3 pigs I got in my new trap. And it's an exciting, interesting thing, and it's a weird part of Hawaii life. My God, I'm trapping pigs in my backyard. And I got all sorts of positive responses from a handful of people. And I was moved to, because I occasionally, when it's easy or interesting, I try to maintain some kind of relationship with my mother. So I sent her the video as well. First, she wrote just, wow. And then I kind of had this feeling of like, maybe there's more to it than that. Like, what else? And then I wrote, fun, right? Something like that. And she wrote, doesn't do anything for me.
Oh.
Translate, this does not fit into my paradigmatic worldview box of what I find entertaining. Therefore, I cannot admit it into my consciousness. Better
You
luck
lost
next
me
time.
there. You lost me.
Exactly.
You lost me. Try again to say something that entertains or pleases me. Oh, yeah. Not like, wow, I know how you grew up and you're out there like doing like farming and butchering. That's so outside of the consciousness of our family. How did you do
different than Connecticut life, right?
Massachusetts,
It was Connecticut.
but yeah.
Massachusetts. Concord?
Concord, very good.
Yeah.
I'm from Concord, Massachusetts, where the Revolutionary War started.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, until next time, it's
Yeah.
been really good hanging with you guys.
It has
I
been.
love being here together. And nice to be with you listeners as well, even though you're an amorphic mob of people that I can't see faces, but I can feel your presence now, which in the beginning I didn't. So that's a noticeable change. I'm
Yeah.
aware of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that one too. True.
Yeah. We hear you not listening now because you can't do that. But when you do,
It's like pre-listening.
yeah.
There's something in the space of that will be listening at one time, at
Yeah.
one point in time.
Well, we're talking to them now. They just don't realize it.
Mhm.
Until now.
And we'd really like to hear from you guys as well, because you're passive. You have to listen to us first, and then we get something from you. Yeah,
Right.
really do.
Well, we're gonna when I hit the stop button, I want to talk to you guys about the thing that I want to bring. That probably will be in the intro to this. That is, that I will announce, but we haven't talked about 3 of us yet. So let's close here, and then you guys and I can talk about that. And in the meantime, go get a puppet and differentiate a part of yourself into the puppet and have a great time and everything. I'm out of words.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Heart of Soul podcast. For more information, including how to reach us, please see the links in the show notes. Until next time, we wish you well on your journey.